What's going on, all you gamers? Today we're going to be going over a little bit more Evil Dead the game. What I'll be covering today will be this fella right here, the Army of Darkness Warrior Ash. This guy is a warrior like no other, so if you want to know an awesome build for him, then stay tuned. That's coming up next. Welcome back all you guys and girls, as always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox. Then why not hit that subscribe and bell icon? I'll bring you all the latest and greatest content, hints, tips, guides and builds, and just some fun gameplay and reviews while playing games. But for today we're here to go over this fella right here, Army of Darkness Ash, probably my favourite character in the game, and an absolute beast at being able to survive battles and dish out some crazy damage. So as you can see with all of my build guides, I'm going to make sure I've maxed them out and tried a lot of different tests and trees and such in order to see which ones I think's the best. This one, hands down, I feel was the best for Army of Darkness Ash, and I'm going to go over why. Now before I do jump into that, I'm going to go over his skills. This one right here, Wise Man's Potion, is one of the best things about him. It's ridiculous and probably one of the best kind of activated abilities in the game. It's definitely a notch above anything else that the other warrior classes get, and I'd say this is a little bit on the OP side. When activated, this ability will grant you health restoration, fear reduction, increased damage dealing and the reduction of damage received. If we have a little look down the bottom, 30% damage increase, which is absolutely insanely massive, and factoring in what we're going to do with our build as well, this means you're going to hit like an absolute beast. Also, damage reduction of 50%. So 50% damage reduction, 30% damage increase as soon as we pop that potion. Then on top of that, you get 250 health restored and your fear reduction is dropped by 30. This is just the be all and end all. It is a crazy move, and it is definitely something that you should be popping whenever you feel like you're going to be going into battle, or if you're really worried about a situation, or maybe even if you're just really low on your health and you need it at the time. But yeah, hands down in my opinion, the most powerful thing on any warrior by a mile. Next up, and we've got Shield Blast. Each time your shield loses a bar, it triggers an explosion, damaging any nearby enemies. The explosion damage is 200. Do not worry about the explosion damage in the slightest, you're not worrying about that. This one's going to give the little knockback effect and make things a bit easier for yourself, especially if you're in a bit of trouble. It can really help to stagger, and it can mean that you can get the upper hand on, say, a boss or just an elite enemy that's giving you a bit of a rough time. Also, because of how Army of Darkness Ash is built, it means that you'll be able to use this very often with this skill tree, as well as being able to decide if you don't want to go into a kind of finisher, you're going to be able to dish out a bit more damage as well. You're going to have this very often because of what's in the rest of his kit. Speaking of which, it's this one right here, Finish Strong. After Ash kills an enemy with a finisher, and that's the thing you have to remember, after Ash kills, so not if you go into it but don't finish him off, you have to get the kill with it. But after you have done that, he recovers part of his shield bar. Now this, on top of this, is just amazing. Absolutely amazing. And those three just set him apart from everyone else in my eyes. You're going to get a lot of extra little parts of damage from the 200s, and it's just going to make your life a lot easier because you're going to have your shield up very often, meaning that your health bar is not going to go down anywhere near as fast as pretty much every other tank. Next up, and this is probably going to get me a lot of flack, this one I would say is one of his weakest ones, Weapon Master Chainsaw. The chainsaw has a faster attack speed and deals increased health, balance bar and dismemberment damage. If you find yourself an amazing chainsaw like a purple or a legendary, pick it up, it is going to be worth your investment. It's going to be absolutely amazing, and this is going to factor on top of that. What I've tried to do with this build, however, is make it so that you don't have to worry about just having a chainsaw, because when I just focused on chainsaws, I found myself lacking quite a bit. So I would actually prefer if this one was slightly changed, because then his build would overall be even more powerful in my eyes with the build that I've put together at least. So jumping over to the actual skill tree, and the first one we've got is the Last Word. Now on a lot of warrior classes, you're probably going to want to get this up to 3, just for the sheer fact that you're going to be chucking in loads of combos. Your last hit's going to do a big chunky bit of damage. With this fact, With this fella right here, you're probably not going to be getting that last hit as much as most of the others, because you're going to be going into executes or your finishers, whatever you want to call them, very often. Also, with how I've laid out the actual skill tree, you're going to be doing such big chunky hits that a lot of time one hit's enough to kind of finish them off anyway. Jumping straight across, and we've got Reinforced Amulet. This is as if it's designed for him. Incoming damage is reduced when you have a shield active. 3, 5, 10, and the last one will be 12. Don't bother going to the last one for the sheer fact that 3% is the very first one, the 10% is absolutely perfect, and if it was 15% you could pick it up and it'd be amazing. The extra 2% isn't going to be the be all and end all. I wouldn't bother putting an extra point in it. But this character will have that reduction going on an awful lot, especially if you're working in a good organised team with a Cheryl. This guy will be hands down just absolutely top notch in every situation. Jumping down from here, and we've got Devastating Force. We've put 4 skill points in this because now we've got 15% extra melee weapon damage. Absolutely perfect. That's what we're basing this character around. It's what you want on pretty much all your warriors. Chuck 4 into this in pretty much every situation. Just down from there, and we've got Seeing Stars. Increases the balance bar damage from your melee attacks. Now, balance bar damage is actually a massive thing on Ash. He needs it probably more than any other warrior, just for the fact that he does really want to be going into that execute phase in order to get the kill and then to reap the rewards of this right over here, finish strong, so that you're going to have your shield bar up very often. 25% on its own is often enough to get the job done. But we've also gone across to here, Blunt Force Trauma. This is going to give you 15% extra on top if you're picking up a blunt weapon. With this character, honestly, I know you would think straight from over here down at the bottom, he is going to be all about that chainsaw. Pick up a chainsaw, job done, don't worry about thinking about anything else. Not with this build. If you find an amazing chainsaw, pick it up, like I said. If you don't, however, grab yourself a trusty two-hander, which is what I do 95 to 99% of the time, and you're going to be doing some massive overall damage with this skill tree. Whether it be a sword, whether it be a sledgehammer, it's completely your choice. I must admit at the moment I kind of prefer the swords, but just look for the ones that do the highest damage and you'll pretty much be golden. Over here, increase damage with your heavy melee attacks. This is going to give you 15% on top whenever you're swinging away with your right trigger on Xbox at the very least. Heavy attacks in this do ridiculous amounts of damage, and this is just going to add on top of that. Remember though, if you are getting caught out a lot and you can't actually kind of get the hits in, you're definitely going to want to swap over to your light attacks because the heavy attacks can be interrupted quite easily. What I tend to do is kind of swing into combat, and a lot of times then you get the advantage. Just down here, and you've got Tougher Than Hell. You would be crazy not to put this on this guy because you're going to have an extra 10% damage reduction at all times. This, along with this up here, means very often, like I said, in the right team setup, but even on your own as well, you're going to have 20% extra damage reduction. Then on top of that, you've got your Wise Man potion. It's pretty insane how much damage reduction you can get in the right instances, and it just means that you're going to be tanky without needing to pick up any of this industrial strength because he's more based around shields than he's about having a longer health bar. And of course, going back to that again, you can always heal yourself if you do need to top up. Now jumping down to here, and this will be the one that a lot of people will be scratching their heads over, fighting shape, no one would pick this up in their right mind. I have found it's actually really good in this character, and the reason for that is because out of anyone, he's probably the one who's going to be topped up on health and topped up on his shield more often than anyone else. The only other person that would have that more often than him would probably, like I said earlier, would be a Cheryl or some kind of a healer of sorts. But this right here, because you are with your shield, because you are able to top your health up, you're very often at higher health, unless you're really struggling or your team's kind of gone down or is lacking. But in a good team setup, you'll be benefiting from this 10% extra damage more often than you actually think. Next up, and we've got Stunning Strikes. Increases the balance bar damage from your heavy melee attacks. This, along with everything else we've got, means that now you can go into your finishers very often. If I say finishers or executes, I pretty much mean the same thing, except obviously you're trying to execute because you want to be getting a kill with it, because again you want to use this finish strong. But yeah, with this you'll be knocking their balance bar down ridiculously easy and being able to choose whether or not you want to keep going with those heavy swings, which will net you a lot more damage, or if you want to go into your finishing move for the iframes and to get that shield back. Completely your call. Swing for the fences means more damage, going into your finishers means you're going to be able to get your shield back, maybe do a bit of blast damage and staggers, and of course you'll have those iframes whilst it's going on, so it can definitely work in a lot of situations. Next up, we've got Weapon Master one-handed. This might seem a little bit odd to put into this build because I've said don't worry about the chainsaw too much, but like I said, if you do find a good chainsaw, pick it up. This gives Ash the viability now, along with this over here, Weapon Master two-handed at 15% extra damage on top with your two-handed melee weapons. It now gives him the viability to pick up whatever there is within the map without feeling like you may have made a bit of a boo-boo. I found when I was going over here and picking just a chainsaw, a lot of times I factored in loads of kind of single-handed weapon damage and such, and then I'd only have a white chainsaw, but I may have found a purple sledgehammer or a really nice sword along the way. With this skill tree, it gives you the option to pick up the best weapon. If it happens to be an amazing chainsaw like a gold one, pick it up. If however it's not, say for example it was a white chainsaw, white sword, I would pick up the white sword. You will do a lot more damage. Most times, like I said earlier, I do tend to finish the match with two-handers because I was getting some crazy numbers and just managing to clear the ads and kill some of the bosses really fast, like I'll show you in this clip here. But yeah, hopefully you'll see where I'm coming with this skill tree. If you want to adjust it, go for it, but I've found this one works amazing and gives you a lot of flexibility within each game. As always gamers, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, take care. I'll see you on next day.